Hello there. Have you been? Hey Ryan, it's been a while. By the way, what's this important news? Listen up. Believe it or not, your dear brother's finally getting married. No way, congratulations! My name is Cindy. I live with my husband Alex. We live quite a distance from our hometown within plane travel range, so we don't get to see our families often. So I got the news of Ryan's upcoming marriage over the phone. Is Alex doing well? If he's not, let me share my happy news with him. I'm sure it'll cheer him up. What's that all about? Well, I think he'll be happy. He's at work right now, so I'll tell him later. I appreciate it. Also, I wanted to check if you could possibly come back home this or next month. Is this about meeting your fiancé? Yes. You guys have the busiest jobs, don't you? That's why I was thinking about scheduling around your availability. Alex and I work in a specific field, where, although we mainly work from home, we hardly have any regular days off. Therefore, when situations like this arise, we usually work ahead to create some free time and plan accordingly. But, sorry Ryan, we're really busy with work at this time. If we can free up any time, it would probably not be until half a year from now. I see. What about the wedding? If you have a tentative date, I can make sure to be free that month. Well, we plan to do it in June, so about half a year from now. It might just coincide with when you're free. Well then, our first meeting could be at the wedding. But I'll talk to Alex. He might be able to make some time. Great. Let me know once you figure out your schedule. After hanging up with Ryan, I got back to work. About 2 hours later, Alex came out of his office and I stopped him. Hey Alex, I got a call from Ryan earlier. He's getting married. Really? That's wonderful. But he consulted me about wanting to meet sometime this month or next. You know how we're both really busy right now, right? So I told him it might be difficult. Yeah, these next couple of months might be tough. What about the wedding? He plans to have it about a half a year from now. We might be able to make that. Plus, you'll be around 7 months pregnant by then, right? Yeah. Actually, I was pregnant. I was not yet in the stable period. So, regardless of work, I was thinking of waiting until I got to that stable period. I might be overthinking it a bit, but still. Well, I'm sure Ryan understands. Oh, did I forget to tell Ryan about the pregnancy? What? You didn't tell him you're pregnant? Well, I told our parents, and I thought they would relay the message. I guess he doesn't know, since we didn't talk about it. You need to call him right now. Alright. Sure enough, Ryan was surprised to find out, as he didn't know. It seemed that our parents thought I had contacted him directly, so he told me again not to push myself. By the time 3 months had passed since receiving the call from Ryan, I had reached my stable period. Our baby was growing healthily inside of me, and everything was going well. And my work was proceeding faster than expected, and I was able to secure some days off. I think we might be able to come over next week. But what about your fiancé? She said it's okay when I checked. Oh, by the way, you might know Stacy, my fiancé. Stacy? Did I have a friend with that name? Well, you'll know when you see her, right? Despite hearing about his fiancé from my brother, Ryan, no one immediately comes to mind. However, since we're both from the same small town, I thought there might be some mutual friends. So I was looking forward to meeting his fiancé when I went back home. Then, on the day of my return, Ryan brought his fiancé to our family home. Nice to meet you! Ah, I knew it! You're Cindy, right? Do you remember me? I'm Stacy. Ah, Stacy, of course I remember you. As my brother said, his fiancée was indeed Stacy, my middle school classmate. But she wasn't a friend of mine. The reason was simple. She used to bully me back in middle school. She did unspeakable things, a lot. Cindy, what's wrong? No, it's just surprising to see you after such a long time. You haven't changed at all. You're still cute. Stacy then turned her smile towards me, and then her gaze moved to my belly. By the way, you're pregnant, aren't you? Congratulations! Can I touch your belly? Yeah? Stacy gently stroked my belly. I suddenly felt a chill run down my spine. Sensing my discomfort, Alex asked, Are you okay? Do you feel unwell? Why don't you lie down a bit? Are you okay? Yeah, sorry, I'll go lie down for a bit. I stood up and went to lie down on the bed upstairs. After about half an hour, I felt a bit better. so I decided to go back to the living room. There, I heard Stacy talking about me. Cindy was so cute in middle school, and she was really popular. She was popular? Alex will be jealous. Please stop it, Bill. I don't care about the past. But I'm glad Cindy is Ryan's sister. It's refreshing to have a classmate become a relative. The living room had a great atmosphere, but just hearing Stacy's voice made me irritated. Maybe I should just spill everything. Like the fact that I was never called cute, and what they used to call me back then. But seeing Ryan's happy face, I didn't want to say anything. Ah, Sydney, are you okay? Stacy, who noticed me entering the living room, quickly stood up and came over to me. Aw, sorry for making you worry. I'm fine now, thanks. I'm sorry too for not noticing. I've never seen this side of Stacy. That's why I decided to think that Stacy had also changed as she'd grown up. I didn't feel the need to make a scene here. A month passed, and Ryan and Stacy's wedding was just a week away. Alex and I managed to adjust our schedule so we could attend. My health was fine, and I had no problem flying. Then one night, I got an unexpected message. Aw, sorry for calling so late. I got your number from Ryan. Ah, I see. So, what's up? I just wanted to check something. Your husband Alex, he's not there, is he? I'd prefer if we could have a two-person conversation, if possible. I found her words unsettling, but with my husband asleep, I asked, he's sleeping right now. But you said it's important? Yes, it's really important. Daisy started to ramble on over the phone. You know, I really think you shouldn't attend our wedding. Wait, why not? You're not feeling well, right? So, I'm saying you should take it easy. Anyway, that's what I think. Hold on. We were just talking about me going home already. I'm feeling better now. You can't just spring this on me all of a sudden, huh? What? You're not feeling well? Right. Stacy's questioning hadn't changed since we were young. In that moment, I realized she hadn't changed at all. I appreciate your concern, but I have to decline. I want to see my brother off as a sister. Let's just forget this conversation. Then Stacy let out a long sigh on the other end of the phone. Look, you don't need to interfere. It's going to look bad. I'm just trying to be nice to you. Why can't you understand that? She finally showed her true colors. Since middle school, I was picked on, being called a monster, instead of being called cute. I even remember being called a witch and being splashed with water and mocked. You're weak to water, aren't you? But I'm an adult now. I didn't want to be intimidated by such threats. I'm going to report this to my brother. You're going to regret this. I didn't want to see my brother upset, but I thought this was the best decision. But then Stacy burst out laughing and said something outrageous. If you can, why don't you tell him? Your dear brother will lose his job though. Wait, what do you mean? Ryan works at First Publishing, right? That's where my father works. This whole relationship came about because of my dad's recommendation. What on earth? You can tell him if you want. Just be ready for him to lose his fiancée and his job. What are you going to do? I understand. I'll accept your terms. I had no choice, but instead of accepting the condition that I won't attend the wedding, I made a proposal. But I want to go home. If I suddenly say I'm not feeling well and can't come, it will look suspicious, and I want to congratulate my brother properly. That's okay, right? Well, you do have a point. Your husband is handsome, so it's more natural if he attends. Alright, you have my permission. Who does she think she is? I held back my indication and hung up the phone. At 11 o'clock at night, I quietly sobbed. From the next day on, I masked my sadness so as not to show Alex. Then I received a work-related call. Actually, I was planning to stay at my parents' house for about 3 days before the wedding day, during which I had arranged to have a meeting at their place. I had to attend no matter what, since I was going home anyway. And so, I returned to my parents' house the day before the wedding, and the day finally came. On the wedding day, I was at the wedding venue. Alex went to use the restroom, and I entered the venue slowly. Suddenly, "Hey you! Why are you here?" Stacy approached me at the entrance of the wedding venue and whispered to me. She approached me so as not to be noticed by others and whispered in my ear, "We didn't prepare a seat for the monster. Go home." At the moment when I thought her cruel whisper wasn't heard by anyone, "Teacher, thank you for coming to my daughter's wedding today." Stacy's father greeted me with a smile. Stacy turned ashen when she saw this. Dad, you know each other? Hey Stacy, never mind that. What are you doing here? It's disgraceful for you to be here in your dress before the ceremony. I just peeped and saw Sydney was here, so... I'm sorry about my daughter. She can be a bit unsettled. No need to worry. We were classmates, so I understand. I returned the sentiment with a smile. Stacy was also smiling at me, but her eyes were not laughing. Is Alex here too? Yes, he is. He's just in the restroom. Really? Well, I'm glad to hear that our children are getting married. And we're becoming relatives. Both of you are our company's top creators. I'm proud of that. Oh, please don't flatter us. What does that mean, top creators? Don't you know? Cindy is a famous comic artist, known as Cindy Lin, and her husband is a famous mystery novelist, Mr. Alex Martin. What? I didn't know. We as a couple are thriving as creators. Unfortunately, we have so much work that it's hard to take days off. Stacy, understanding the situation and the relationship with her father, turned her gaze toward me and beamed. No way! You should have told me sooner. This is news to me. Anyway, wait in the lounge. Did you check in? I'm so happy to become your relative today. Take care of yourself. If anything happens during the ceremony, tell me right away, okay? See you later. Stacy spoke quickly and tried to leave the place as if escaping. However, I had no intention of attending this wedding. The reason being, Alex and I were planning to cancel at the last minute. I took out the voice recorder hanging from my neck and played it. We didn't prepare a seat for a monster. Go home. I played it over and over again, stopping it, rewinding it, and playing it again. What? What is this? I'm sorry, but your daughter said this, so we will be absent. Stacy stopped in her tracks at this and gave a bitter smile. What? What is that? That's not my voice. The voice recorders these days are handy, aren't they? They can even display when and where they were recorded. Hey, what does this mean? Stacy's father, his face turning red, confronted Stacy. Stacy continued to deny in a teary voice. But even if you say there's no evidence or not, I've been called a monster by your daughter, and I've been treated badly since middle school. Because of this, I will also be missing tomorrow's project. Wait a minute, isn't tomorrow an important joint project meeting? It's a major project that will decide the fate of our company. Already, the ads are running everywhere. If the project disappears, it'll be disastrous. Yes, I know, but I will also be absent. Alex came to my side and moved the conversation forward. No way, can't you do something? Well, actually, your daughter was calling my wife in the middle of the night saying something that was almost threatening, so I won't forgive anyone who makes my wife suffer. And now that Stacy's taken her brother hostage, I suggested to my wife that it would be best for us to do this. What? Stacy, what have you done? It's not true. Dad, it's a misunderstanding. There's no way it's a misunderstanding. Ryan came out of the dressing room. His expression was stern, showing his anger. Stacy rushed to Ryan with tearful eyes. It's not true, I didn't do anything. But Ryan took out his smartphone and showed a video. In it, Stacy was recorded saying, "Why did she come, despite being a monster? I'll kick her out," and running from the dressing room on the second floor. My buddy happened to be filming you when you came out in your wedding dress. You can't deny it now, can you? Stacy collapsed. I'm truly sorry. I didn't realize at all. I'm the one who should apologize. It's okay. You did nothing wrong. And thanks, Alex. We'll have to call off today, so you can go home ahead of us. Being told this by my brother, I returned home with Alex. Of course, the wedding was canceled. In the evening, Stacy's parents came to apologize, bringing Stacy with them. Naturally, because my brother was involved, the project is to be continued as expected. Work is work. I always thought personal matters didn't matter, and then Stacy was disowned by her parents. The punishment for using her father's name to script the project was severe, they said. Originally, Stacy had secured a contract job through her father's connections, but she resigned after receiving cold treatment, and she's now job hunting. Of course, she has to pay for the wedding cancellation fees and compensation, so she's scraping by with a part-time job now. Meanwhile, my brother continues to enjoy his work. He said he was done with marriage, but half a year later, I got a proud text that he'd fallen in love with my assistant. Of course, she's a really nice person. but as a sister, I'm a bit taken aback by his quick turnaround. Well, as long as he's happy, that's all that matters.
My name is Clara. I'm a 32-year-old part-time working mom. I married into a family that owns a renowned business corporation. Despite the surprising ease with how both families accepted our union, others were quick to label us a mismatch. But now, 5 years into our marriage, everyone watches over us with warmth. I feel truly cherished and it makes me grateful every day. This not only applies to my relationship with my husband, but with my in-laws as well. Especially my mother-in-law. She treats me just like her own daughter. Clara, darling, are you feeling all right these days? You look like you've lost some weight. I'm worried about you. Here, take this. Why don't you go out with that co-worker friend who visited the other day? What my mother-in-law handed me was a coupon for a popular steakhouse. I can't use these lunch vouchers because I usually eat at our company's cafeteria. It'd be a waste to let it go unused, so you enjoy. Even though I could go out with my father-in-law on my day off, my mother-in-law told me not to worry, so I wouldn't feel pressured. Nevertheless, the amount inscribed in the discount voucher was incredibly luxurious, something I usually wouldn't even think about. Moreover, I was gently informed that there was a dress code suggesting I dress up a bit. I initially hesitated but agreed to enjoy the generosity of my mother-in-law when she made a certain request. Wow! My friend and I, upon entering the restaurant, instinctively gasped in awe. The long counter made of a genuine marble and the highly polished iron plates were simply spectacular. This is amazing. Overwhelmed by the ambience of the restaurant, a man who appeared to be the chef warmly showed us to our seats across the counter. I've been told by your mother-in-law that I can freely exercise my culinary skills to your heart's content. May I? Encouraged by the chef's experienced demeanor, my friend and I silently nodded in agreement, feeling a bit relieved. After all, we had no idea what or how to order in such a high-end restaurant. Just as the madam said, I'm delighted to see you enjoy your meal so heartily. Please come again. One by one, the delicacies melted in our mouths, and my friend and I, satiated to the brim, breathed contented sighs. The chef watched us leave with a friendly smile. However, that was delicious, wasn't it? The waiter guided us to the exit, scornfully remarked, You don't even know what you're eating. What? Shocked, we thought we misheard, but then we heard the waiter mutter, Lunch with the discount voucher. You must have gotten it for cheap at some ticket shop or something. The waiter sneered at us, making us feel uneasy. Seriously, you ate a lot. It's disgusting. Seriously, spare me. Are you even a woman? Gross. His voice was low enough to be heard only by us, but it was unmistakably filled with malice. My friend turned red with embarrassment, bowing her head down. Whether or how we got the discount voucher or how much we ate is none of your business. I don't want to hear anything from you. Let's go. Frustrated and upset, my voice shook, but I made sure to say what needed to be said and then urged my friend to leave the restaurant. As it turns out, my friend and I hold national qualifications as certified garden management engineers, recognized by the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport, and Tourism. We work in gardening, maintaining parks and roads, and working with greening initiatives. This might sound like a cute job, but it's quite physically demanding when you're out in the field. Our body is our capital. Unlike my slim husband, I can easily carry items weighing more than 20 kilos. Okay, I lied. Well, to confess, my husband can't bridal carry me, but I can lift him. Although we're not fat, we have firm muscles for women. We love our work, but we do have moments when we wish we could be bridal carried. It's a bit of a dilemma, we often joke. Because of our physical demands, we can eat more than twice the amount of food an average woman can. Of course, I love meat. I think the chef made our hearts flutter by saying, The madam told me you could enjoy the meal to your heart's content, and I'm glad you enjoyed your meal so much because my mother-in-law had told him about us. Still, the deliciousness of the food got the better of us, and we ate more than usual. However, being called disgusting was too much. My heart, which had been so excited just moments ago, suddenly felt deflated. I'm sorry, it's because I invited you. My friend, whose cheeks were still flushed with embarrassment, reassured me that it wasn't my fault, but I couldn't shake off my feelings. Moreover, I felt pathetic when I opened my bag to give a tissue to my friend who had teary eyes, and I discovered I seem to have left my handkerchief in the restaurant. It was a beloved handkerchief that my mother-in-law had given me as a gift. As I usually dressed in jeans and sneakers for work, I was nervous wearing an unfamiliar dress and pumps and had been holding the handkerchief all the time to hide my sweaty palms. I think I dropped it when I confronted the waiter. I'll go back and get it. The thought of encountering that waiter again was distasteful, but I didn't want to leave my precious handkerchief behind. However, the restaurant had closed for lunch by the time we returned, so my friend, who had come along with me, and I researched for the back door. Ah, there! We spotted the chef and the rude waiter near the back door. Even so, to have a customer get angry like that. Wasn't there some sort of rudeness? I said it many times, this is customer service. Depending on your attitude, even the owner's reputation, who is your father, could be affected. You need to be aware of that. Yeah. In response to the admonishing chef, the waiter maintained a sullen face, nonchalantly brushing off his advice. It seems that the waiter from before was the son of the owner of this restaurant. Excuse me for interrupting, but was there a handkerchief left behind today? Feeling guilty about eavesdropping even unintentionally, I quietly addressed them. The chef, as before, responded to me with a smile. Please apologize properly, he told the waiter. The chef, who had brought the handkerchief from inside, handed it to the waiter and encouraged him to apologize. However, while the chef was inside, the waiter, who had been grumbling things like, "Don't look at me, you scum," not only disobeyed the chef's instruction, but also crumpled up the handed handkerchief and threw it forcefully at my feet. Then, with loud footsteps, he walked back into the restaurant, leaving the flustered chef to apologize profusely to us, to the point where we felt embarrassed. A while later, I had another encounter with this waiter. You're really bottom tier, aren't you? Did you know that? It's obvious in this world that being skinny is ideal. Poor people like you have no demand except for outdoor jobs, and your bones get big, don't they? I bite my tongue hard to suppress my retort towards the waiter's scornful smile. In reality, the favor I was asked for my mother-in-law in exchange for the discount coupon was a proposal for indoor decorations that would suit the restaurant's atmosphere. Clara, you also have qualifications in garden decor, right? This restaurant is our business partner. I'd like you to work on it while you're dining there. Wouldn't that be great? It was a kind gesture from my mother-in-law and a delightful work proposal, but today was a discussion while observing actual plans for the arrangement. But I never expected him to be a part of it. Furthermore, he seemed to have tagged along for the inspection, and in the absence of the chef, who usually plays the role of the supervisor, he was more intrusive than ever. I prepared materials over there, please take a look. He was pressuring me with a low voice, checking around to make sure no one was watching. Oh, not saying anything today? Well, you would be in trouble if you can't get a job from us, right? Please, over there. What? I'm saying this loud enough for you to hear because you're ignoring me. Despite his malicious words and delight in being unpleasant, I remained silent. As much as I hated to admit it, I didn't want to ruin a job opportunity introduced by my kind-hearted mother-in-law because of him. He left the scene with a laugh, shrugging his shoulders at my reaction. Hey Clara, I'm sorry for asking this only a month later, but is it okay to have the next birthday party at the steakhouse we went to last time? My mother-in-law asked me this with a slightly troubled look when my father-in-law's birthday was nearing. It was a family tradition that my mother-in-law wanted everyone to attend my father-in-law's birthday party once a year. All three brothers, their families, and I regularly meet as we all get along well, and everyone looks forward to celebrating not just my father-in-law's birthday, but also my mother-in-law's birthday every year. I told him to tell me his favorite restaurant, he just went ahead and booked it himself. Such a troublesome man. If I had known about this, I would have given you a coupon for a different restaurant, my mother-in-law sighed. Normally, I would readily agree, but this time I couldn't muster a smile because of the waiter. I was feeling apologetic. My mother-in-law suddenly became serious. Something happened, didn't it? Even when I tried to avoid her gaze, she quickly held my cheeks and brought my face close to hers. I confessed everything, and after thinking for a while, my mother-in-law's eyes sparkled. And so, on the day of my father-in-law's birthday, I visited the restaurant again, dressed in the same outfit as last time. Welcome, we're pleased to have you here. Lost amidst my gathered in-laws, I entered the restaurant, keeping my gaze lowered. The chef, as formal as ever, greeted me with a nod and a warm welcome, which slightly eased the tension I felt. However, unlike the counter we sat at last time, this time we were in a spacious private room. As each of us settled at the banquet table, I noticed the figure of the waiter bringing drinks. As he walked past me, his dismissive attitude and his habitual clicking tongue were just as they had been. In fact, the moment the chef left the room, it seemed as if he had discarded all his responsibilities as a waiter. With a dismissive throw of his words, he literally abandoned his service. You want a drink? Pour it yourselves. He showed no embarrassment in pointing to the drinks with such a flippant tone. Frankly, this is not a place for people like you understand? This is a social spot for the wealthy. The presence of poor people like you lowers its prestige. He said this as if it were self-evident and then heaved a dramatic sigh. And that is your best outfit? You look so poor. Haven't I told you before? A bottom-rung, poor, unintelligent glutton who can't even appreciate good food, especially a woman, should never show her face here again. Can't you even remember such a simple thing? Really, spare me. Just go home. With a shooing motion, he waved us off as if chasing away an animal. Furthermore, when we remained silent and unmoving, he seemed to grow irritated and let out another disgusted tisk. At that moment, my mother-in-law, who had been silent until now, asked in a calm voice, "Is that all you have to say?" "What? What is it, old woman? Where did you buy those clothes? Aren't you embarrassed to go out in that?" In response to the waiter's retort, my mother-in-law's demeanor changed dramatically. I felt a sudden chill, but he didn't seem to notice. "You don't want to upset Mom. She's far more terrifying than Dad." My husband once told me this, and I felt I was getting a glimpse of the truth behind his words. Whether he sensed her intensity or not, the waiter looked a bit puzzled. "So you're the son of the owner of this place, right? Well, then it's perfect that your father is here." "Huh?" With that cue, the chef, who had disappeared from sight, comes carrying a large tablet. "As per your instructions, I've connected you to the owner. He's seen everything." What? My dad?" The waiter's outlandish cry made me internally retort, even in such a time, "Not father, but dad, huh? You're out of character." However, the waiter himself was far from calm. What? Ugh! He stammered, completely ignoring my mother-in-law. "Owner, as you can see, I appreciate our past dealings, but it won't continue as before. I'm going to sell all the shares I hold in this place, worth about $10 million. Despite addressing the owner, she turned her eyes sharply towards the waiter, delivering her words with the clarity of a biting frost. "It's a good lesson for you to see what can happen because of your attitude, isn't it?" The waiter, finally grasping the critical situation, stammered again like a frog frozen under a snake's gaze. You are..." He finally remembered about respect. My mother-in-law cut him short. "Oh, I'm just a poor person who doesn't need to give you her name." The waiter dropped to his knees as if his legs gave out. It was then that the owner's voice resonated from the tablet. "Madam, I really don't know how to apologize for this. I feel terrible having to do this over a screen. My son has done something truly outrageous. I'm sincerely, deeply sorry." "I don't care about me." Cutting off the owner's desperate pleas, my mother-in-law showed a clear sign of anger for the first time. "Clara is my pride and joy. When my son told me he wanted to marry her, I went to see her work from afar. Her work was meticulous, polite, and diligent. She's an honest woman who doesn't change her attitude depending on who she's dealing with. She doesn't deserve to be looked down upon by someone like you. No matter what clothes she wears, she's always bright, a bit clumsy, and has an irresistibly cute smile. Claire's just that way. No matter what you think, I want to fill her belly with delicious food, and watching her enjoy her meals is my happiness. Well, I won't forgive you for hurting my dear daughter again and again." My mother-in-law's determined statement overlapped with the image of my own mother in my mind, despite the differing appearances and demeanors. My mother-in-law, who was doing her best to protect her daughter-in-law, felt just like my own mother. When I noticed my husband was gently embracing my shoulder, and I realized I was crying from the warmth of his touch and the handkerchief he handed me. "Sorry, I don't want to dirty your handkerchief with my snot. Can you get me a tissue?" While my husband was trying to hold back his laughter on one side, I needed many tissues for my tears. During all this, my mother-in-law continued to press the waiter firmly and unyieldingly. "What's important to me is the entire family here. None of us should be belittled by you. Our outfits that you snickered at are indeed no-name brands from chain stores, but for my dear family who are willing to joyfully wear clothes that they know will be looked down upon and are not even to their own tastes, I feel proud. You don't need to judge people by their fashion at first glance. As long as you cherish what's important, everything else doesn't matter." I'm sorry." Facing my mother-in-law's wrath head-on, the waiter began to tremble and apologized. "You're absolutely right, madam. He was unbelievably rude to your family even though he didn't know they were related to you. I'll disinherit my son this instant." Dad! "Don't call me with that embarrassing name, you failure. I made a mistake in how I raised you. Your younger brother will take over the company. Don't ever come back." "Dad!" The owner's son, Disown, clung to the tablet but was let out by the concerned chef. "I'm sorry for involving you in this mess." "What are you talking about? What happened was just clearing the way to enjoy a delicious meal. Today we're going home saying how tasty and fun it was. Well, if I had to say something to everyone who came along with us, it would be more than just 'I'm sorry,' right?" "Huh?" Puzzled by her bright insistence, I blurted out, "Mother-in-law, you're so cool." The unexpected compliment slipped out of my mouth, causing my husband to burst out laughing, and the rest of my in-laws to clap and laugh heartily. After that, the owner's son seemed to be struggling to live in a small apartment after being kicked out of his large family home. The owner also found himself scrambling to stabilize his rising stocks after learning that my determined mother-in-law had really switched her stocks to another company, and her friends followed suit, causing the previously soaring stock price to fluctuate. I hope these days as family will continue forever and ever. That way we can always laugh together. With that thought, I felt like crying from laughter again, and hurriedly started looking for a tissue.
Before long, we're gonna sell this house and move into a high-rise condo, so you better start looking for a new place. Maggie's mother, Karen, sneered. You're not thinking you'll get a dime of our father's inheritance, are you? We're having you relinquish your right to it. You got that? Ashley, my sister, threatened me. Her face, a horrifying mask of cruelty. Ashley's boyfriend stood to the side, his laughter only adding salt to the wound. It was unbearable. Our father's funeral had barely finished, and they dared to talk like this. You're the absolute worst. I can't stand this anymore. I'm cutting ties with you all. The moment I shouted those words, the doorbell rang. Standing there was a man I felt like I've met before. My name is Maggie. At 22, I'm soon to graduate from university. Nothing to brag, but I'm strong-willed and patient. From my childhood through university, I've always quietly, diligently focused on my studies. I've maintained reasonably high grades, and I do have dreams I want to fulfill. Although I'm content with my daily life, I also have a significant worry, and that is, Maggie, come downstairs now! A loud voice rang from below. With reluctance, I went downstairs to find my mother, Karen, and my sister, Ashley. Mom, sis, what's up? I was studying. Ha! As usual, you nerd. You're still studying, even though university is almost over. What a hard worker. The one laughing was my sister, Ashley, a beauty like our mother. She's flamboyant and was even a popular model back in the day. Now, she's unemployed, under the guise of helping around the house. We're going shopping. You should clean the dishes and do the laundry. Don't forget to iron properly, okay? Also, we're out of detergent and other things, so you should go shopping. Mother calmly ordered me to do the housework. Knowing she would get furiously angry if I talked back, I quietly responded, okay. They left the house dressed up to the nines and high in spirits. I need to get on with that, I muttered quietly as I started to clean up the mess they had left behind. Mom, a former beauty queen, has extravagant tastes and loves luxury. She's always favored my beautiful sister while ignoring me, since I'm not all that pretty. Moreover, they've always dumped housework and other chores on me as if I'm their maid. My sister took advantage of this, and I've been oppressed by them since I was little. Yet, I've tolerated it because, after all, we are family. And then, my phone rang. When I looked at my phone screen, it read, Dad. Hello? Dad, it's been a while. I could tell my voice had brightened. Ah, Maggie, it's been a while. Are you doing okay? I'm doing great. How about you, Dad? It's night there, right? How's work? I'd like to say I'm fine, but I've been having headaches lately. I'm planning to go see a doctor soon. How's your schoolwork? Is it going well? Dad, take care of yourself, okay? Thanks to you, everything is going well. I'm studying hard to achieve my dream. That's my girl. You're always so diligent. Remember what I always say? Be righteous and kind, right? Don't worry. I'm doing my best. That's my Maggie. I'll bring lots of souvenirs when I come home next time. After that conversation, I hung up the phone. To put it bluntly, my family is well off. This was largely due to my elite father, Harry, who has been flying around the world for work since his younger days. Although he was often away from home, he was kind to me and showered me with love whenever we had the chance to meet. I adored him dearly. However, to my mother, Karen, and my sister, Ashley, he was nothing more than an ATM. The harsh truth was that they were living lavishly on the money he earned. Be righteous and kind, Maggie, he would say, his presence always nurturing and supportive. It was my rock. That's why I was able to stay strong until now. Several months later, shortly after I graduated from university, a chilling event occurred. Maggie, Dad has... Karen burst into my room, her face as pale as a ghost. Apparently, my father had collapsed at the airport as soon as he returned home and was rushed to the hospital. Upon hearing the news, Ashley, Karen, and I immediately headed to the hospital. There, my once strong father lay, frail and helpless. We suspect he's had a stroke, the doctor informed us. Despite extensive treatment, my father barely improved. To be specific, he was left with severe physical paralysis and a speech impairment, unable to stand or converse properly. To care for my now dependent father, I decided to put my dreams on hold and dedicate myself to his care at home. Predictably, Karen and Ashley completely ignored him, treating him as if he was useless. They didn't even help with his care, let alone come by and see him. Mom, Ashley, if you helped with Dad's care once in a while, I'm sure he'd be really happy, I pleaded. However, their response was always, We're too busy. We've left Dad's care to you. Dad, it's a lovely day today, I would tell him. Maggie, thank you. He would struggle to reply. I studied and learned about caregiving. I made sure he could see outside by keeping the curtains open, fed him specially prepared meals, and arranged fresh flowers every day. Though I had help from professional caregivers, I did everything I could for him with all my heart. Remembering my father, who had worked so hard for us and showered us with love, I was desperate to do everything I could for him. Whenever times got tough, I would recall his words, Maggie, always be righteous and kind. And each time, it gave me the strength to carry on. One day, I overheard Karen and Ashley whispering in the house. Thanks to Dad's insurance money, I was able to buy that bag I wanted, Karen said. I know, right? Thanks, Dad. Maybe I should get a new wallet too, Ashley chimed in. I held back from yelling at them and continued to listen, only to hear Karen utter something even more shocking. If Dad were gone, we'd receive a few $100 million from his life insurance and inheritance. He's been saving up through his job and investments. Wow, Mom. Then we should totally buy a luxury condo. And my boyfriend could live with us. Oh, I wish Dad would hurry up and die. Indeed. I couldn't bear it any longer and left the scene. My father was struggling to stay alive, and yet they were spending his insurance money and dreaming about a luxury condo from his inheritance, wishing for him to die sooner. I felt like vomiting out of anger and despair. In reality, my mother and Ashley had been living it up recently, buying up brand name items, and even leaving my father and me behind to go on overseas trips. But there was no way I could tell my father, who was already having such a hard time. I didn't want to sadden him. Pretending I hadn't heard my mother and Ashley's conversation, I devoted myself to taking care of my father. Many friends and acquaintances often came to visit my father. They all loved him. I particularly remember an older man in a suit and glasses who often came. I wasn't present, but he was probably an executor from my father's company or something. He would bow his head and greet me whenever he saw me. I was happy that my father was loved, and on the days when he had visitors, his face seemed brighter. I thought these days would continue, but a few months later, my father had a stroke recurrence and suddenly passed away. Dad, Dad, I cried, clinging to my father's body that no longer spoke. Even my mother and Ashley shed tears this time, mourning the loss of my father. What followed was a whirlwind. There was a wake and a funeral to be held, and of course my mother, the chief mourner, did nothing. Neither did Ashley. In the end, I had to go through all the procedures by myself, running around in a rush. The wake ended, and many people attended the funeral, with many flowers arriving as well. Seeing the character and popularity my father had in life, I felt somewhat comforted. At the funeral, sobbing voices echoed, and my father, with a peaceful face, embarked on his journey. In the evening of the day when the first 7 days were over, I had finally started to recover a bit from the sadness. As I was cleaning up the 7th day, my mother and Ashley called me into the living room. Next to Ashley was a man who was set to be her fiancé. Like Ashley, he looked good, but given his former job as a male stripper, his inner frivolity was clear. Apparently his name was John. So, about father's inheritance, my mom began. I had a terribly bad feeling. And then, my mother, laughing scornfully, said something outrageous. We'll get a lot from your father's inheritance. So we decided to sell this house and live in a luxury condo. So, you should leave. Mom, it's only been a week since Dad passed away. Are you already talking about the inheritance? And the luxury condo? Quiet. We've already signed the contract. It's a high-rise, brand new. You've already signed? When did you? About a month ago, I guess. A month ago? But Dad was still doing fine. Huh? He was practically dying. He had a lot of money, so it'll work out fine. My mother was selfish as ever. Ashley continued. Yes, that's right. The luxury condo is for Mom, me, and my fiancé. So, you're a nuisance. You should hurry up and find some shabby apartment, okay? Even you, sis? Are you serious? Of course. Don't even think about getting any of Dad's inheritance. We'll have you renounce it. You understand, right? Ashley was approaching me with a terrifying expression. Next to her, her fiancé was laughing. Seeing my father's inheritance in the corner of my eye made me feel suffocated. It was too much. They had the nerve to say such things before my dad's mourning was even over. You guys are the worst. I can't stand it anymore. I'm cutting ties with both of you. Huh? We'd actually feel relieved if you cut ties with us. My mother and Ashley laughed at me. I clenched my fists and started trembling. At that moment, the front doorbell rang. Straightening my trembling breath, wiping my tears, I opened the door, thinking it might be a late visitor. And then, good evening. My condolences for your loss. The man who deeply bowed his head at the entrance was the middle-aged man in a suit and glasses who frequently visited my father's sick bed. Thank you. Please come in. As I was about to invite him in, the man presented his business card. Please check this. My name is Watson, an attorney assigned by your father. The business card indeed belonged to a law firm, and although I had not noticed it before, a badge denoting him as a lawyer was gleaming on his chest. Dad's lawyer? As I was surprised, my mother, Ashley, and her boyfriend came out from behind. Huh? What does a lawyer want from us? Watson responded to my mother's skeptical expression. I've come to discuss your husband's inheritance. Can we talk for a moment? Watson sat down in the living room. My mother sat directly across from him, and Ashley and her boyfriend sat next to her. I ended up sitting on the side, facing them alone. Watson took out several documents from his bag, looked at us, and then began to speak slowly. "First, may I read your husband's will?" That man could barely move or speak, and yet he left a will? "Get on with it, please." My mother spoke in an irritated tone. "Then, allow me to read it," Watson said in a quiet voice. "The will, the testator, Harry, hereby bequeaths as follows. The testator leaves all property belonging to him to his second daughter, Maggie." A moment of silence fell upon the room. "The testator designates the following as the executor of the will." Before Watson could continue reading, Ashley interrupted. "Huh? Wait a minute. What did you just say?" "Didn't you hear me? The testator designates the—" "No, the part before that." "Let me read it again then. The testator, Harry, hereby bequeaths all property belonging to him to his second daughter, Maggie." "What does that mean? So that means—" "Huh?" The next one to shriek was Karen, our mother. "In other words, it means that Maggie will inherit all of the estate." "What?" Karen and Ashley exclaimed in unison. I was so shocked that I couldn't breathe, and all I could do was stare in astonishment. "Next, I will read the postscript of the will," Watson continued, looking at me. "In other words, this is your father's final message." I quietly listened. "Maggie, you gave up your precious dreams to take care of me. I wasn't able to pay much attention to you because I was always working, but I truly appreciate it. Thanks to you, I was able to pass away peacefully and fulfilled." Upon hearing my father's last words from Watson, tears started to well up in my eyes. "Maggie, always be kind and correct. I know you can do it. Your father will always be watching over you. Please, be happy." All I could do was sob in front of them, while Karen and Ashley were making a big fuss. "Wait, what does that mean? So the inheritance all goes to her?" "Yes, what happens to our money?" In response to their outburst, Watson cast a brief glance at them. "You two are not mentioned. By the way, Maggie is also the sole beneficiary of the life insurance." "What are you talking about? Do you think that's allowed?" Karen turned beet red, ready to burst at any moment. That's right. Isn't there something called a reverse portion? That's supposed to be guaranteed to the wife and the children, right?" Ashley leaned forward eagerly. "You're referring to the statutory reserve. Indeed, you two have the right to claim a statutory reserve from the inheritance that Maggie will receive," Watson said in a matter-of-fact tone. "Of course!" Karen seemed to be getting back to her usual self. "Even if there's a will, if its contents are unfair, you can claim a share of the inheritance prescribed by the civil law. However," Watson continued, "Harry had commissioned us to investigate on the fact that you, Karen, and you, Ashley, were living luxuriously with Harry's money and squandering the insurance money." The eyes of Karen and Ashley widened in astonishment. "Indeed, you purchased a luxury condominium and a car, and you spent quite lavishly on host clubs and overseas trips. All the caregiving and household chores were left to Maggie alone. Moreover, there were even remarks hoping for Harry's death. My father knew everything. He knew everything, but he pretended not to know." That's... My mother stammered. Watson responded calmly. In this case, it's unlikely that the distribution of the inheritance will be deemed unfair. Even if you take it to court, it's very unlikely you'll be able to claim anything. Of course, you can try, if you wish. I'll be the one you'll be set up against." My mother's face had turned a pale blue. That's ridiculous," my sister also muttered. "It's absurd. Only Maggie." When Watson was leaving and I walked him out to the entrance, he said, "Maggie, you have grown up to be quite admirable. Your father always spoke of you with such joy." "Really? My father?" "I've known your father since we were young, and I was honored to take on this request. Your father felt he was too lenient with the other two, but I believe he found peace knowing how well you turned out." Watson's eyes were squinted in a warm smile. I was so touched that I teared up again. "Please live a happy life from now on. You know I'm always here to help." Watson left me with those words, and I kept bowing deeply to him. A year later, with Watson's help, I was able to inherit all of my father's assets. As for my mother and sister, my mother, unable to pay off the loans for the high-rise condominium, she had already contracted the expensive car and the designer goods, eventually went bankrupt. My sister, on the other hand, was quickly abandoned by her boyfriend when he learned that she wouldn't be inheriting anything. And I heard through the grapevine that she is now living with my mother and working part-time. They called me for a while, but I kept replying, "I've cut ties with you. Please contact me through a lawyer." I thought that was what my father wanted too. Now, they don't contact me at all. As for me, I used my father's inheritance to attend a law school I had once given up on. Originally, I wanted to become a prosecutor to uphold my father's words. Always be kind and correct. But now, my dream has changed. After working with Watson, who had saved me in my time of need and provided unwavering support, I started to admire being a lawyer myself. So now, I'm studying hard to become one. I strongly wish to become a lawyer like Watson, who is always just